Well, it's no surprise to say that the new and improved Little Mermaid movie is awful. Who knew that the multi-billion-dollar uninspired company that is Disney was able to churn out another hollow, soulless, and disingenuous remake of a beloved classic? What a surprise! A little fun fact about me, this is probably my favorite Disney princess movie, I guess? Why do you ask? It's the only one that I remember watching growing up. I don't remember Cinderella, or Snow White, or the Frog Princess one, or Beauty and the Beast. I just remember The Little Mermaid. It also really felt like the most animated movie of the Disney classics. The ocean setting is perfect for the 2D animation medium. The songs and visuals create a whimsical and vibrant feeling that just feels like good old classic Disney. So was modern Disney able to dig up the grave of an already good film and remake it with the same energy and passion as the previous? No! Since The Little Mermaid is my favorite of the Disney classics, I thought if there was any live-action soulless remake that I was gonna cover, it should be this one. If I were to describe this movie in one word, it would be wooden, because there is not one person in this movie that doesn't feel like a plank of wood. Ariel is wooden, the fish is wooden, Eric is wooden and is bad at singing, the crab is wooden, even King Trident is wooden. And he's played by Javier Bardem. This guy, the guy from No Country for Old Men, this guy is terrible in this movie. And it almost feels like a directing problem, because everyone's bad in this movie. So I really don't know who to place the blame on. Regardless of that, this is the biggest waste of an actor ever. It's criminal.
What is that?
I need you to step out of the car, sir.
What is that for?
Would you hold still, please, sir?
So let's talk about the biggest problem with this movie, the runtime. The original isn't even 90 minutes, and it's a short and sweet classic, as God intended. But the new and improved version is 2.5 hours, almost 70 minutes of content. It doesn't add enough at all to warrant the 70 extra minutes. For example, the beginning of the movie sets up this ocean and it's slow-mo and there's waves crashing into each other, and there's a quote that pops up and says this: "But a mermaid has no tears, and therefore she suffers so much more." What's the purpose of this? I understand that it's a quote from the original creator of the story that the movie is based on, but it has no relevance to this story at all. The other glaring problem with this movie is the brightness, or lack thereof. It's incredibly dark throughout all of the nighttime and ocean sequences in this movie, and the color palette doesn't exist either. I don't know why they got rid of Ariel's bright red hair, since other than the giant tail, her red hair is what distinguishes her from the rest of the mermaids. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really care about the race swap. It's just an argument that I have no interest in putting any energy into. The thing that bothered me most was getting rid of Ariel's bright red hair. Why? The only excuse that I can think of is me. Black women don't look good with bright red hair. My argument against this terrible offense is Rihanna. Anyway, let's start with the song Part of That World, since this is where we see the inciting incident. This was one of the most depressing songs in the movie, and not for the reasons that would make it good. The lighting is dark and dreary, and all the color has been sucked out of it, and some of the objects are obviously not underwater. The CGI is terrible, not just in terms of how things look, but also in how gravity picks and chooses what objects act like they're underwater or not. And the way Ariel blinks and moves is very cheap. It doesn't look like she's blinking underwater. She doesn't look like she's moving her hand underwater. It's just very cheap. Anyway, the song ends and Ariel sees an explosion and takes the opportunity to see the surface world. During this, we see the added content that the reboot has added. They add a lot more to Eric's character and try to add in some world building. He's the heir to the throne of his island kingdom, that I completely forgot the name of. He is worried about the ever-evolving culture in the surrounding region and doesn't want his country left behind. We see that he cares for his crew, and this is one of the traits that is rare in most leaders and makes him stand out. We also see that the crew don't like mermaids, which is a little piece of world building that isn't consistent, like at all. Ariel watches as the seamen party and celebrate on the boat and is in awe of their songs. Well, that's what I think is supposed to be the emotion that the movie wants us to feel, considering that Ariel just looks like a plank of wood. Then a storm comes and the boat is on fire and everyone jumps ship. There's also a dog that Ariel helps, but the dog doesn't look like it needs help. It looks like it's vibing. It's just swimming towards the boat. If you wanted this to be a heroic act, give a little bit more time to see the dog maybe struggling to swim, and then have Ariel come and save it. Then we see Eric and he falls off and knocks his head. Ariel then saves him and brings him back to shore and sings her siren song. And Eric just sits there totally not awake. He's very much asleep. Definitely no bad acting there at all. Then we see soldiers come out looking for Eric. But how would they know about the shipwreck? There's no texting. Anyway, fast forward to singing Under the Sea. This again is worse than the original and is way less imaginative. In the original, all the other fish and sea life are singing and playing instruments with Sebastian. But in the reboot, it's just Sebastian. Even when he starts singing the verse describing all of the sea life playing the instruments, in the OG, we see the creatures playing those instruments. And it's incredible. The original has very good visuals. But in the reboot, while this verse is being sung, all we get to see is Ariel sitting on some walking turtles. Ah. Cinema. Anyway, King Trident then finds out that Ariel went to the surface world and destroys Ariel's collection. He also says that the reason he hates humans is because they took her mother from them, which is a really cool idea to play with, forgiving those who did you wrong and about pushing past previously held beliefs about each other. Well, it would have been a good theme to play with if the director knew how to direct actors and the writers could write a comprehensive script and also have good cinematography and CGI to back it up, but whatever, my themes. Anyway, Ariel is obviously sad and goes to the Sea Witch to become human. In order to do this, Ursula, aka Melissa McCarthy, must take Ariel's voice. Then they break out into song, Poor Unfortunate Souls. And, as you can guess, is soulless. And on top of that, the movie not understanding what Ursula is trying to do. She's trying to tempt and deceive Ariel into doing what she wants. In the OG, it's shown how crafty she is when she does this.
I use it on behalf of the miserable, lonely, and depressed. Pathetic.
She turns to her eels, blocking her mouth with her hand, and says pathetic. It's a crafty little character moment to build onto this villain. In the remake, she just says it outright. Also, they cut all the lyrics in the song having to do with finding true love and love that lasts, because the idea of finding a soulmate and living happily ever after with your lover and possibly starting a family is a concept that has been killed in modern Hollywood. Obviously, dying alone is way more fulfilling than any of that lovey-dovey crap. Also, they cut a bunch of lyrics about a fat woman trying to lose weight or something like that, which is kind of funny. I'm surprised they didn't hire Lizzo to be Ursula. Anyway, then Ariel gives up her voice and becomes human. Then she swims up to shore, and we're shown an added song by the creators of the remake. I can't begin to explain how bad this sequence is. Actually, I think I can. So Ariel is singing in her head about how it is to be in this new world, the wide range of emotions she's having, so many new experiences she's going through: gravity, walking, carriage riding, food, fire, elaborate dresses. Her face must be beaming with emotion, right? No, she doesn't act at all. She puts her hand up to a fire and just doesn't react at all with her face. Her face is just the same blank stare throughout the entire movie. React, Ariel, please! Eric shows up and he wants to know if she's the girl that saved him, but then he is told that she can't talk. And the only thing he remembers about her is the beauty of her voice. So he says it ain't her. The door shuts and Ariel is defeated. So it's time to talk about cinematography and the sheer lack of creativity when shooting this movie. In this scene, Ariel is defeated. She feels helpless as it seems impossible to win over Eric, and with this strange new world she's exploring by herself, she feels small. So how do you accurately translate this into a film without outright stating it? Well, let's start with the shot. All right, so in the movie, in this scene, this is, in my opinion, this should be where Ariel's darkest place is in the movie. She's gone to this new world, she's explored it, she's excited to learn more stuff about humans, their culture, and the surface world in general. And this was relayed to us through the song before this, which had terrible acting. We see that Eric comes into the room and he realizes that she can't talk, and that, of course, by association, she can't sing. That makes it so he just thinks that she's not the one, because if she can't talk, she obviously can't sing. So he leaves, the door shuts, and this is the shot that we're left with. So the shot is we have her sitting here, or not sitting, but standing, kind of a waist height. She's in her dress. Her hair is not a glorious red that we know it as in the previous movies. It's sadly like this weird, like, brown color. So yeah, this is the shot and my full artistic ability. This is the shot that we're left in the movie. It's a full shot. This is where all my faith completely got lost in this movie. If anything, the shot's more like this, really. If anything, the shot looks like this, so really bugs me. And here's why. So with this shot, you have to use the camera to give this sense of defeat and loneliness, the feeling of the new world rejecting you, right? Because this is the whole thing that's going on here. Ariel's excited to see the new world, but she's scared that the new world just might not be ready for her. And that's a scary thing when you're traveling in this new place alone. And I don't know about you, but nothing about this screams to me alone. I mean, you have the window behind her. That's kind of cool. It's like shining some light in, brightening up the area around her. But, you know, this is it. So I'm gonna show you how to fix this scene. So the problem with the original shot is according to the rule of thirds, I'm kind of butchering the art here, but the rule of thirds, her body's just kind of in the whole shot in the middle. And to make her feel smaller, we're going to make the window bigger than her, or at least taller, and then make her smaller in her head only in the middle section of the rule of thirds. And for the sake of making people angry, I'm adding her red hair back. It's probably wet because she's still drying off from the shower that she had, or the bath she had. So we're gonna make it a little bit wetter. There we go. I don't know how botched that looks on the camera, but that's her hair. And then in terms of dimensions for the room, this light is obviously coming in and crashing on the room around it, so we're just gonna go like this. She has a little shadow too. Her eye is pointing more towards this line. Her eye line is going towards this. Her eye line's towards the middle, and the camera is more of a down angle. So this is the shot that I have come up with in less than 5 minutes. So obviously we have the window being the key in this. If we apply the rule of thirds, then this is the kind of format that we have with the rule of thirds. Window is in all 3 of the rows and is in this one column. Ariel only being in 2 of them. How small she feels in this moment. We have the camera tilted down towards her, and the camera being taller than her in this case. I didn't really represent it well in this, but that's what I'm going for. And that's something that obviously you can do with the camera on a shot list. I have the bed in here just to set up this room and this table over here. Then we have her eye line towards this lower row here because she's looking at the door, and the door would be under the camera, ideally. And then, of course, the window with the sunlight beaming in, representing the new world and the sun, because, you know, the sunlight don't go in the ocean, obviously, because the lighting's terrible in the ocean in the movie. So that's it. So yeah, in summary, Disney, if you need anyone to do any storyboarding or cinematography for them, hire me, you know, because I'm obviously better than whoever directed this movie, so peace. Anyway, continuing with the theme of bad visuals, we continue with singing Kiss the Girl. I can't tell you a single thing that happens in this sequence. All you need to do is brighten the image and maybe we will be able to see something. Anyway, then the next day, Ursula shows up in disguise, but she's just some random white girl. I thought the whole thing in the original is that Ursula wanted to look similar to Ariel to win over Eric easily. But again, she's just a random white girl. Honestly, this girl did more acting than Hailey Bailey did in this entire movie. Anyway, the bird girl finds out and goes to tell Ariel and Crabman, and this happens.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham.
You know, when I found out that Awkwafina was in this movie as Scuttlebutt, I immediately knew everything I needed to know about this version of the character. They're loud and annoying. I'm not saying that Awkwafina is a bad actress. It's actually a shame that she's known for being the loud side characters that she is in recent media. There's people out there who call her talentless, which just isn't true because she can be good. If you've ever seen The Farewell, which is free on YouTube with ads, and I suggest everyone go watch it, she's great in that film. We we can take her seriously. But for some reason, she doesn't do any of these types of movies as of current, only being in Shang-Chi and The Little Mermaid. It is a shame that she's gone down this route of wanting to do comedy when she has so much more potential than just that. Anyway, then skipping a little bit, Scuttle and Sebastian and Flounder develop and hatch their plan to save the day. Scuttle then carries Sebastian towards the objective, and she drops him because it's funny, I guess. Anyway, then Sebastian falls into the window of a kitchen with Chef Lewis. Oh wait, give me a second here, let me find it in the script. That's weird, I'm not seeing it. You're telling me that they cut the singing sequence with Chef Lewis and Sebastian in a 2.5-hour movie. They got rid of the scene that centers around your best character. Sebastian is the best character in this movie, and you cut out his scene from the movie, even though you have almost 70 more minutes to play with. And you just said, nah, we're gonna cut it out. It's absolutely ridiculous. The original was 84 minutes, and it was still able to have this sequence in the movie. So what's your excuse that it's not in? There's none. But no, we need to spend more time with some half-baked world building and quotes at the beginning of the movie that mean nothing. Wouldn't this scene being in the movie add more to the world and add to the idea that humans are terrible people? Anyway, then Ariel goes to the engagement party and attacks Ursula, takes the necklace and smashes it, and then gets her voice back immediately. And then Eric and Ariel almost kiss, but then it's sundown. Oh no, Ursula comes back as Squid Woman and takes Ariel into the deep depths of the sea. And then after this, the pacing then completely halts because they have to talk to King Trident for some reason. In the original, Ursula turns the king into a little weed man, and his crown falls on him, walling him in like a prison. But in this, he just kind of dies from the eels, I guess? I don't know. He just kind of is written out conveniently and then brought back in later because the plot demands it. But he doesn't even need to die. Ursula just needs to get the trident. That's all she needs to do. Then Ursula takes the trident and gets big. Well, we assume she gets big because we can't see anything during this sequence. And the CGI is terrible, obviously. Also, they switched some of the roles during this scene. Instead of Eric being the one that steers the ship and saves Ariel, it's Ariel that steers the ship and saves Eric, even though Ariel has never driven a ship in her life. Okay. Well, it's because, you know, she saw Eric ride and steer the boat earlier in the movie, so it's okay that she knows immediately how to drive a boat. No, that's not how that works at all. Have you ever done driver's training or driven for the first time and everything seems new and scary, even though you've watched your parents or guardians drive hundreds of times before? Just because you watch something happen doesn't mean you are immediately good at that thing that happened. That's not how humans work. But I guess they changed it for women empowerment or something. Even though at the end of the movie, it would have been cooler and better for Eric to be the one that saves Ariel, because then King Trident would have more respect for Eric and they would actually have a conversation between them, because they don't talk at all. Eric, the heir to the throne of this island kingdom, does not talk to the leader of the Ocean City. Why? There's so much diplomacy and political ideas that could be shown in that last 5 minutes. They could just work out a deal. Like, Eric could be like, as long as I live, Ariel will be protected by my most righteous of warriors. And then King Trident would be like, ah, I see. As long as you are ruling the random island city, my waters will never threaten your trade routes ever again. You could do that, they shake hands, and then that could be the end of the movie right there. It would have at least brought in some of that world building that they try to do in the first half of the movie. Can you try, please? Please, movie? Can you at least attempt to do some world building and politics correctly? You're probably saying, well, kids don't care about politics. I correct you with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which a lot of my favorite episodes growing up had to do with political climates. Anyway, I'm gonna skip to the end of the movie because I don't care. Eric and Ariel are on a boat sailing away for some reason that I forgot, and the king comes up and blah blah, keep my daughter safe, and the end. And again, I'll say it, there's so much conversation to be had here between between these three characters, or two, I should say, Eric and King Triton. And the entire time that Triton was holding on to the boat, I was just begging the movie to have them talk at least one word. All Triton says is, "Hello, Eric." And I think Eric says like, "Yo, what's up?" No, he doesn't even say that. He just kind of nods. That's it. There's so much to be had between these two characters that they just don't do. And then the movie ends, I think. I don't even remember, but that's it. I think one of the only good things in this movie is Sebastian. Even though he's still wooden like the rest of them, he still has some characteristics that makes him stand out. I thought David Diggs did really well as Sebastian. I thought he was great. While not being as good as the original, he was still able to work with what he had, you know? The other character that I thought was good was Sir Grimsby. I liked him. He was really good. He's the butler for Eric, and he was enjoyable. I mean, he didn't really do anything, but, you know, he was fine. But other than that, everything else is kind of bad. Bad pacing, bad plot, terrible world building, bad CGI, wooden acting, bad singing, bad everything. I think if I were to give this a rating, it would get 1 crab and 1 Mr. Grimsby out of 10. So 2, I guess. So yeah, thank you and good night. Leave me alone.